And welcome into the Friday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. Hope everybody's off to a wonderful start this morning. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping. Property managers, if you manage it, they maintain it. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Joe Rexrode, happy Friday morning to you. Good morning. How we doing?
Well, I kind of worry that this is just going to be, you guys are going to get so sick of this, but, you know, my Detroit Tigers blew a 6-run lead yesterday, and I was very upset about it. But then Kevin McGonigal, who's in a month into his rookie season, who just got an 8-year, $150 million extension because of a month of pro baseball, knocked a triple through there in the ninth to start the rally for a 10-9 win to win 6 straight for the Detroit Tigers. So I'm doing pretty well. Like I said, you guys are going to get sick of this.
Well, you buried them about a week ago, so it's good to see that they've responded since then.
Exactly. No, you will have to ride the wave of my emotions all season long.
I think the World Series may be coming this year.
Well, I mean, you know, this is our last year probably with Tarek Skubal, so let's hope so.
Yeah, it's probably true. Ian, how are we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. Happy Friday, folks. Doing just fine, thanks. Got some much-needed rain in my neck of the woods last night.
With some wind.
Yeah. Yep. We were like, oh, is it raining out there? We're like, oh, no, that's just the wind. And then it got pretty windy. And then I'm driving out of the neighborhood this morning. I wouldn't say like debris, but you can tell it was windy. We got a couple of branches down.
Oh, yeah.
We got some leaves down, so hopefully nobody sustained any type of crazy wind damage. But did get a good yard watering, good for the flowers, good for the garden bed. So was happy about that. But, yeah, looking forward to the weekend. Thanks.
We'll have weekend winners later in the show. It didn't go very well for me or Ian Safar this last week, so we'll get to that stand.
Got a new sheriff in town. Got a new sheriff in town? I like the sound of that.
Yeah, a new sheriff in town. I mean, not by much, but we do have one.
For a week.
New sheriff in town.
I'll take it. I'll take my week.
We'll see how that goes. Terron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock. I saw TD at the Preds game last night, so he'll be with us at 8 o'clock. We will get into the Titans and all things NFL draft with him and his reaction to Mike Borgonzi's press conference from yesterday, which we will get into here in just a few minutes. But, Joe, this time next week, we'll be talking to, well, I guess not this time next week, but at 8 o'clock next Friday, we'll be talking with TD about what the Titans have done in the first round of the NFL draft and looking ahead to day 2. That's a good feeling.
Yeah, that's a very good feeling. And we got to remember all the stuff that, you know, I feel like every year I forget, you know, what was the misinformation? What's the big thing that we thought that did happen? What's the big thing everybody's talking about that didn't happen? Got to do a better job this year of, like, maybe I'll write some stuff down.
Yeah, there you go.
You know?
I like it.
Like right now we got the whole David Bailey thing going on. But I think we'll get into Borgonzi, of course. I thought he did a nice job of dancing around things and kind of leaving you wondering on a few things yesterday, which is probably what you should do in a pre-draft presser.
I would agree. There wasn't a whole lot that I took away from that thing yesterday, but we will get into some things that I took away from that thing coming up here in just a few minutes. The Nashville Predators did close out their season last night, and we will get a little bit more of a general view into the Predators here in the 7 o'clock hour coming up later in the show. But the Predators lost last night 5-4. Troy Terry scored the game winner for the Anaheim Ducks with less than 3 minutes left in regulation. And quite frankly, Joe, I mean, it's game 82. It was meaningless, so it doesn't particularly matter all that much. I thought Saros was awful last night, just to be totally honest with you. Like, he was terrible in the game last night. And I don't know what all that means moving forward. It's one game, but it was not good from UC Saros in that last night. So the season is over. Cole O'Hara made his NHL debut last night. He picked up his first NHL point. That's a heck of a way to start your NHL career, playing on a line with Steven Stamkos, Ryan O'Reilly. So
it makes a nice little play.
Yeah, made a nice little play. He made a cool play before he picked up his first NHL point, where he almost scored. So that was good stuff from him last night. Aiden Fink did not play. If you're wondering why, there was some immigration issues going on with his paperwork and all that, and just didn't get it done in time. So he did not play in the game last night. So no Aiden Fink, but Cole O'Hara did play. And as Loppy on the YouTube chat points it out, Joe, Preds pulled it off. They got a new young guy in there. Forsberg got to 40 goals. They went from the 12th pick to the 10th pick, and we'll see what happens in the draft lottery. They have a very small chance, but a chance nonetheless to get the number 1 pick. And with the results last night, we don't get LA and Edmonton again for like the 5th year in a row in the first round. So that's good. All that's good to me.
Yeah, actually, that's quite a few good things. It is great. Seriously, to see Forsberg get to 40 there. You know, I mean, both those guys. That's pretty great to get there, and now you're in a lottery spot, which is, you know, you're saying there's a chance. Vingen with some interesting stats, you know, invoking Vingen's name. I listened to their little segment ripping me yesterday, by the way. So thanks, guys, appreciate that. I'm going to get in your chat today, but Vingen points out that this is the first team since the 18-19 Oilers with Draisaitl, McDavid, of course, and then that same year DeBrincat and Kane with multiple 40-goal scores and missing the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it is like in some ways kind of incredible. If you'd have told me Stamkos scored 42, Forsberg had 40, O'Reilly put up a 70-plus point season, like if you told me all that before the season, I'd probably felt pretty good about them making the playoffs, but they did not. So that part of it is tough. Like, you know, I'm watching them last night, and they're getting, you look, it's a totally meaningless game last night. I thought they were going to pull it off at one point. They ended up not pulling it off. You know, I thought particularly for like Stamkos, it was cool to see him get a couple on the board last night in a game where it's got to be a grind. Like if you're O'Reilly or Stamkos or one of these guys, it's got to be a grind to get through that one last night, and you're able to do it. And they talked about trying to get Forsberg. We had a joke going on in the press box before the game, Joe. And it was like, how many shots is Forsberg going to put on net tonight? I would have loved to have seen like him not score the 40th one until somewhere late in the third period, just to see how many shots on goal he would have. He ended up with 14 attempts, but he got the 40th one, like, you know, into the second period. So had that stretched out, I would have loved to have seen how many shots on goal he would have put up last night.
Just ripping everything.
Yeah.
Got like,
I mean, he was
got
just
someone wide open in front of the net. I don't care. Rip.
Oh, he had one shift in the second period before he scored. He didn't end up scoring on this shift, but I think he had like 5 attempts on one shift. I was like, yeah, he's just letting it fly out there tonight, which I don't blame him. I would too.
Exactly. Yeah. So good for him. Hey, speaking of Vingen, by the way, did you see this thing that Vingen? No, you probably didn't. Okay. Well, I have to be your Twitter ears and eyes now. So Vingen quote tweeted this. Preds fan had like a picture of a sign that was on the ice. Okay. So let me read the sign to you. Dear new GM, for the rebuild, please sell off the overpaid dead weight. Yossi Saros Evangelista. First of all, how much you think Evangelista makes, dude?
Yeah.
What?
It's a very interesting combination.
I mean,
people there.
And Yos, I mean, what do we, you know, fine. People can, you know, Saros. I mean, this is going to be possibly a multi-year conversation. You know, not possibly, it is. You know, and hopefully for him and for them, like he can bounce back and play better. But that's a huge concern. So that one, I get his name being on there. Evangelista. Jeez, man. Guy actually had a really good year and also gets paid peanuts. They were like mad. They were like fighting him, making $1.5 million, weren't they? I mean, my God.
Yeah, that's a very interesting combination there. I mean, he makes $3 million per year, which the cap has gone up, but I mean, he put up over 50 points this year. You'll take that for $3 million. So
I mean, they spent like
probably fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They spent like it's a really, like, you can tell they spent a lot of time on this sign, you know? So they're on the ice. They're obviously like, they go to the games, they're Preds fans. They took their time. It's a meticulously done sign with really nice block letters. And they you spent all that time with the long last name of Evangelista, even though it completely invalidates your sign.
Sure. That's very interesting.
I think the Preds should hang that as a banner.
Yeah, maybe so. Tyler says, somebody explain to me how Forsberg scores 40 goals in the best league in the world, and he was riding the pine in the Olympics. Yeah.
That's a good question.
That was a fun time.
That's a very good question.
I would love, Forsberg, when he came back from the Olympics, did not want to touch that at all. Like, he did the best to answer the question without really saying anything, which is kind of like Mike Borgonzi every time he gets in front of me. But that's what he did. I would love, like right now, just, last night as they're getting out of the locker room, I'm sure they're probably a cold one or two that they had in the locker room last night before they went home. I would have loved to have just looked at him and say, so tell me about the Sweden coach. How's that? Because I'm sure that would have been fun.
Yes. I'd love to hear the backstory there because it's just bizarre. Like, I mean, you're just completely sabotaging yourself and your entire country must hate you for doing it. So, like, how much do you hate Forsberg? Like, or I don't know. Or like, is there like a blackmail situation going on? I mean, it's actually a really good question.
What the heck could Philip Forsberg have done to make you mad at him?
I really don't like that mustache.
Look, we've kind of laughed about this. Yeah, you're around a guy like, John Marchessault for, 35, 40 minutes, and you're like, okay, well, I like him a lot, but I could see why maybe he could get on some people's nerves, right? Like, it's Philip Forsberg.
Yeah, no, right. Like, it makes no sense at all. Like, there has to be a deeper story there.
Yeah, it's
I'm glad that was brought up.
Yeah, I am too. Well, we're off and running on Robby and Rexrode. Preds closed out their season last night, and we will get into Andrew Burnett. We will get into changes coming up for the Predators. A lot of stuff in the 7 o'clock hours on the Nashville Predators front that we will get into. Mike Borgonzi did speak yesterday in his pre-draft press conference for the Tennessee Titans and did say a few things that I thought were pretty interesting. We will get into that. We will take your reaction to what Mike Borgonzi had to say coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Mike Borgonzi speaking yesterday in his pre-draft press conference for the Tennessee Titans. The draft is next week. And, hey, look, Borgonzi said if they needed to, they could draft today, Joe. That's good to know. Like, if the Titans needed to do it, if the NFL sent out the memo today that this draft was moving up, Titans are ready. They could do it today. So good to know from Mike Borgonzi yesterday.
I could have drafted 2 months ago, but good.
Yeah, I think I could have too, at least the first round. And then I'm just going to throw random darts at the board from about rounds 4 through 7 because that's about what it is.
It might work out.
It might. We'll see. Look, he hit on a lot of the things that you would expect him to hit on yesterday. You know, Jeremiah Love came up and he talked about how much he likes Jeremiah Love and then the edge rushers and a lot of the things that we've been talking about when it comes to the typical draft narrative that's been out there for the last few months. I did find, and I read PK's piece at paulkuharski.com, who was there at the press conference yesterday. You know, he was asked about Jeremiah Love, and he talked about him, and then talked about the edge rusher guys, and he was asked for, you know, Sonny Styles later in the press conference, but when he was talking about, you know, that first part of number 4, you know, PK put this up there. He said in his website, you know, it could be telling that he did not inject Sonny Styles in that answer when he was talking about Love and all the edge rusher groups. In the first question, he was asked about Jeremiah Love. Now, he was asked specifically about Styles later in the press conference as it went on, and, you know, talked about how there's really not any comparable for Styles when the testing comes around. But
right.
PK found that notable that when he was answering questions about Love and he kind of offered up the edge rusher guys that are there as well, that he didn't bring up Sonny Styles, and that could be telling for the Tennessee Titans. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, it could be, but it's funny because when I heard his answer about Styles later, and again, sometimes, you know, you're listening to it, you know, you can read into things, and probably a lot of times you shouldn't read into them, but I do anyway. But when he was, to me, it was like, man, like it sounds like he, you know, it sounded like a little bit of, you know, he was, you know, a little bit enamored with Styles when he was talking about it. But then again, that could also be overcompensating because he failed to mention him earlier. It probably would have made sense to just mention either the edge and a linebacker, you know, earlier with the answer. So I don't know, man. I mean, he may be right. But yeah, like, yeah, exactly. Like PK, I'm reading the PK thing right now. That whole quote of, you know, his testing numbers broke every test. He's all this stuff, great in coverage. He's a former safety. Compares him to Tremaine Edmonds,
Yeah.
right? And so then, like PK said, it sounds like they love him, but he also emphasized that Saleh has had great success with linebackers everywhere he's been. I mean, it's so again, you can. So PK says, think that's an intentional haze out of the combination. I mean, it could be intentional haze. I mean, I think the overall thing is try to give you something. That's what all these guys do. I think Borgonzi's pretty good at it. Try to give you something. You can answer honestly. You can always talk about, you can gush about this player, that player all day long, right?
Sure.
And some of them you're actually focused in on, and some you're not at all, but you can always talk about it and then, you know, leave people guessing. And sometimes maybe people use these to really like throw people off the scent and really make people think one thing or another. To me, Borgonzi does not do that. He leaves it hazy.
Well, he did say yesterday, you know, he's talking about the smoke screens that are out there, right? Especially this time of year where you're right around the corner from the draft. And, you know, he talked about how you got to pay attention to it. Like what's out there that's kind of media driven, or you feel like based on the information that you've gathered as a team, that teams are trying to make something media driven. Like, you know, there's a game that's being played. And he was asked if, you know, does he participate in it? He said, sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, that definitely happens in the league. But, you know, the bottom line is this. As we've broken down for months at this point, as I think everybody is aware, the Titans are going to have pretty good option there at number 4, whether it's one of these edge rushers that we've broken down extensively, or if it's Jeremiah Love sitting there at number 4. Maybe they do love Sonny Styles at number 4. And I know that we could get into, if that happens, you know, taking an off-ball linebacker at number 4. But as it's pretty clear based on watching him yesterday that he is very comfortable with the options that they're going to have at number 4. And we'll see what happens with New York and Arizona in front of the Titans. And there's got to be, some level of contingency plans that you've got in place if you're Mike Borgonzi there. But he seemed like a general manager yesterday to me, Joe, that's pretty comfortable with the options that he feels like are going to be there at number 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's one of the players that it's pretty clear they've been doing a lot of work on the players that everybody likes is going to be there. One of them will be there, and very possibly multiple, depending on what the Cardinals do. Like Reese, Bailey, Love. One of them's going to be there, probably Love, and maybe one of the other ones, and then of course Styles too. So probably Styles is the extra guy, and one of those other 3 will be there, and so it just makes sense, that they're going to end up getting a good player and a player that they really like. Of course, he also was asked about moving down, and certainly left the door open in terms. But I thought his answer on that, instead of we're open for business like some GMs do, was a little more like the phone line, we're gonna keep an open mind type thing. I'm paraphrasing, but it didn't sound enthusiastic. But again, what does that mean? I mean, someone calls you with something really appealing, and then that's how your mind gets changed.
Yeah, for sure. And I just have my doubts if somebody's not trying to move up for a quarterback and somebody's trying to move up that aggressively to get to like number 4, right?
Yeah,
And just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me when you look at it on the surface. And this is a perfect example of how this draft process works. And again, it depends on where you look, and we'll see how it actually plays out next week. But the Ty Simpson part of this, like there were, he had all this quote unquote momentum like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. And now you look at all these mock drafts again, and it's like, oh, well, Ty Simpson could go 34th, or Ty Simpson could be 21st to Pittsburgh, or whatever it is. Like it's always interesting to me, the narratives around these quarterbacks heading into the draft.
Well, and the thing about him is what would cause like a reduction in momentum, like here in the last couple weeks. To me, it's probably like no team wants anybody to think that they're actually taking him.
Right.
I could be wrong, but I think there's a lot of conversation about him. Obviously, Dan Orlovsky. By the way, I mean in fact, you know what? That was going to be a rant. Maybe that will be a rant. You have the rant today?
You can do it today.
No, you can do it.
I was giving you the. I don't have one. I was going to come up with one. I was giving you the day off, but if you got one, take it.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if it's a full rant, but I mean, there's a lot of Dan Orlovsky is the same agent as Ty Simpson. It's like, okay, so what do you think? This agency is like funneling him money to be to lie about what he's doing with his job on film study. It's totally reasonable to watch film, especially again, first half of last year before Simpson had the back injury, and think that Ty Simpson's better than Fernando Mendoza. I mean, people acting like this is this is just outrageous, fiction. I mean, it's pretty wild. But Orlovsky, look, he likes him a lot. And I think Orlovsky's good with the film study, and and he's a little bit sketchy on Mendoza in terms of, and I think it's totally fair, like in terms of the answers that are given to him by his coaches. But regardless, point is with Simpson, I'm going to guess right now he goes a lot higher than people think, because a couple of these teams at least really like him, and everybody's trying to be like, oh no, and trying to make people think they don't like him. I think this is a misinformation situation.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We will continue to react to Mike Borgonzi's pre-draft press conference yesterday, including something said in there that I think Joe Rexrode going to be fired up about. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
You see left tackle in the first 3 rounds is kind of tying into what we talked about already, but you've obviously got Dan Moore and a big investment in Dan Moore. Yeah. Would it be at all difficult to take that guy knowing you're either sitting a $22 million guy or you're sitting a high pick in the first round, given that you have a lot of other places where you need to get people on the field?
You know, the big guys are hard to find, Paul. As you know, there's not too many guys that are that big and athletic. I think that's why, those guys get taken so high. Or when you have a chance to acquire, those type of positions, I think you have to do it regardless. And then, however it shakes out, whoever wins the position battle, and, to have an opportunity to get a young tackle in here to develop, no matter where we take them, I think you have to certainly think about doing that.
That's Mike Borgonzi yesterday at the pre-draft press conference. I heard PK ask that question, some capital J journalism by Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com, and I could see the grin developing on Joe Rexrode's face when the Titans take an offensive tackle, either at number 4 or number 35. I've now talked myself into it. Way to go, Joe. Looks like Borgonzi's on your team.
I love it. Didn't Paul make fun of me for my offensive tackle take? I think he did.
Yes.
So is this him trying to confirm that, or has he come around on the idea?
I think he may run out of questions.
Okay, I need to say one more question. Can I ask one more? Offensive tackle? No, it's look.
Mike, how are you going to protect your quarterback, please?
Yeah, Paul, you listen here. We have a quarterback. We will protect the quarterback. Yeah, look, I love the answer. I really do. I totally agree. It's like when it comes down to it, and look, there isn't anyone unless Maui Noah is there, I guess. Could they shock the world? And by the way, I still I understand that there's a lot of things with names and pronunciations and spellings and things that you just have to go with it. I've never seen someone's name spelled Maui Goa and you pronounce it Maui Noah, like a G just pronounced it. I've just never seen it. I've seen like friend of the show Ted Gwynn, NG. We just go the G sound. I've never seen the G just be an N sound. So that's a new one, but it's Maui Noah.
Yeah, it's like Dat Win. He went Dat Win.
Gwyn. No, he's Gwyn.
Yeah.
Dat Gwyn.
Was it?
Yes.
I thought it was Dat Win.
Yeah, I'm quite sure because Ted, friend of the show, same exact last name, Ted Gwynn.
Mm-hmm.
But
I remember that linebacker too.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a G that is an N sound. So anyway, I guess he'd be the one guy. And maybe, look, hey man, maybe it's time to, like you said, Robby, go to the doctor for Proctor.
Heck yeah.
But there probably isn't anyone who qualifies. But at 35, that's where I think, could be interesting. Is it not possible that the top player on the board for the Titans at that time is a tackle clearly ahead of any receiver that's still on the board, and that they could go there? And if they do, there will be people who are upset. And I don't care that Dan Moore, I just don't care about that.
Who?
That Dan Moore is making this money right now.
Who's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mandor. My bad. Mr. Door.
Yeah.
Man D.
I'm sorry.
Yes. No. You've got to be consistent on this show, on this program. So I don't care though. I don't care that there's someone he is obviously a short time plugger and not an especially good one. So if they could, again, we'll see if they do it. I still have my doubts, but if they did make that move and it turns out that you got yourself the long-term answer, then I don't care. Next year's team could have, used this or that more. Next year's team will be lucky to win 7 games. Let's all be honest about this.
Let me present this scenario to you and to Titans fans, okay? Let's say number 4 comes along, and it's Jeremiah Love. I think a lot of Titans fans are expecting / hoping that it will be. That Jeremiah Love is the pick at number 4. And then they go offensive tackle at 35. So you're going Love at 4 and then offensive tackle at 35 because he's the best player on the board as you just presented in that scenario. Well, one of the complaints we've gotten about taking Jeremiah Love at number 4, Joe, is the offensive line sucks. Well, if the offensive line ain't any good, like how's Jeremiah Love going to be any good? Well, what if you add another highly picked tackle to the mix and you've got, $22 million Mandor as your swing tackle at that point? Are you feeling better about the Jeremiah Love pick if it goes down that way?
See, now you've touched into another like potential rant topic. There is the whole don't take a good skill player. Your offensive line stinks. Oh, well, let's have really crappy skill players behind the crappy offensive line, and then like somehow they'll cancel each other out. Like, so if you don't have a good offensive line, which by the way, the fan bases in this league and probably the teams too, that's about, I don't know, 22 of 32, maybe something like that. You should never take a skill guy who's good. Don't do that until you have a perfect offensive line. Then get someone who can carry the ball or throw the ball or catch the ball. Come on. I don't understand. That whole line of thinking makes zero sense at all. And also, I heard you guys talking about this yesterday as I was driving and skipping out of the end of the show. But like you said, Robbie, like, first of all, like they actually were a pretty decent run blocking offensive line. They weren't bad. That's more of a strength. The pass protection is the bigger concern for sure. So, but even if they were bad, let me tell you something. A great skill player can make any offensive line or lineman look way better than they actually are. That's part of the deal. I don't know if Love is that level of like transcendent player, but some people think he is.
I would agree. Now, and somebody just brought this up on the text line too, and I knew somebody would go there. Like Ashton Genty last year, not very good season, right? Like he got drafted, What was he, 6th last year? And we've talked about this. Like the Raiders' offensive line was completely terrible. Now, look, the Titans could not address their offensive line again. Like they could go through this draft and not take a center and not take a guard, and the offensive line better not be as bad as the Raiders' offensive line was a year ago. I mean, that you still have Skoronski and Latham. That by itself ought to be better than what the Raiders put out there last year. If it's not, we got bigger problems.
But let me address the texture. Okay, look at Ashton Genty last year. Okay, well, luckily, careers don't last a year. I mean, some do, but Ashton Genty will continue to play. And then the Raiders, I assume, are going to try to fix that. And if he's what they think he is, and maybe he isn't, I don't know, then you're probably going to end up being happy with the pick, right? Like, does an entire career and draft pick get judged on one season? No. I mean, if he's a great player, then we're going to find out that he's a great player. And yes, there is a difference between that line and this line. The Titans last year moved up from fighting hard for 32nd in the league to like into the 20s, right?
Yes, I would agree with that. Particularly as the year went, particularly when Latham started to play better, right? Because, for first half of the year, we were looking at J.C. Latham. I was like, dude, what in the heck's going on out there? Like, the second half of the year when he started to play better, and by the way, they started to run the ball a lot better in the second half of the year too. I wonder if those two things are related, but certainly they were not knocking on the doorstep of the worst offensive line in the league. Now, look, with the investment level as a franchise that you've put into the offensive line over the last 5 years, not being the worst is not the bar I'm shooting for, right? Like when you draft J.C. Latham 7th overall and Skoronski 11th overall, and you go out and you spend money for the top tackle in free agency last year, and heck, let's add to it. Let's say they do this scenario and they draft another tackle or at 35th this year. I know a lot of Titans fans are going to be mad about that just because of the investment level that they put into it. So, we need to get to the point, given how many times they've tried to address it over the last 5 years, where the offensive line at some point turns into a strength for you. And we're not there yet, but it's certainly not as bad as it was a couple years ago when it was unquestionably the worst offensive line in the league. Right. Unquestionably.
No doubt. And again, you're talking and that was 3-4 years after it had a case as one of the best. It was a top 5 offensive line in the last half of 20. The last half of 19, and then in 20 before Lawan got hurt. So it happened. Both things can happen fast. You make really good choices or really bad choices. Conklin, really good choice. Ben Jones, great job. And then we know about all the terrible choices, and then you plunge it into where it was. Real quick, Robbie.
Yep.
Texter says, never seen a G making an N sound. Ever heard of lasagna? Lasagna has an N in it, bro. Lasagna. Lasagna. Yeah, the G silent. This guy is Maui with only a G, and it's pronounced with an N. There's no N in the name. There's no N in the word. There's an N in lasagna. Another rant. See, all these rants that could have been rants. They're just mini rants.
Just take it. It's 7:45. You're fine.
Ian, can you just replay these little outbursts of angry old man yelling at cloud and just, string it together? We should have some rants where it's just like we just let Ian cook for 12 minutes, Just let Ian cook.
Pretty good.
Just like a DJ, at the club. Just scratching and like
Club Safari.
He has so many drops. I mean, it could actually be a pretty amazing menagerie.
It could.
Or
There's
menagerie.
no doubt about that.
Menagerie.
I poop myself a lot, probably.
See? He's always got it ready.
We'll take more of your thoughts on the Titans at 615-737-1025, our phone number. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, the game. Today, Vanderbilt baseball taking on Kentucky. First pitch at 5:30. You can catch all the action on 102.5 The Game. Coverage is presented by Gary Force Acura. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. One texter says, Kuharski out there journaling in a little spiral notebook, hitting the streets for stories, Rambler hat on the head, drink in hand. He's chasing journalistic dream. Joe is yelling at people commuting to work about commuting to work about lasagna.
Hey, we all have roles in society, okay? We all have our roles. We need to play them. The world needs lasagna yellers too, okay? I got another texter says, Joe Tua, it's a Samoan thing with the G's making end sound. So, no, I get that. I have not seen that. So, again, that's my ignorance. Please make it understood here. That is my ignorance. I just have not seen that particular like spelling / pronunciation combination. So I need to touch grass a little bit more and probably eat less lasagna.
Maybe so. Lasagna is pretty good. Scott in Waverly says, if you look at the setup in San Francisco, what's the offense centered around? It's Christian McCaffrey. So Rob Saleh knows how to use a back like that. If Love is what they say he is, we'd be crazy to pass on that kind of talent. Liam says he'll only be mad about the offensive line being lineman or tackle being drafted if they miss again. We got a problem that needs a solution, and ignoring it doesn't help. This is from Liam on the text line.
Liam's exactly right. It sucks. I get it. Like, you're so sick of it as a Titans fan. Like, how many whiffs can you have? And it's never exciting either, right? To draft. I mean, even if you're like, what? Like, I remember like the Chiefs, taking Eric Fisher number one. Borgonzi mentioned that yesterday, so it came to mind. It's like first of all, it didn't really work. He wasn't what they thought he was, but I mean, even at the time, it's like, really, yeah. You get excited when you take like a Patrick Mahomes at 10th or wherever he went. I mean, that's what people get excited about. So people are getting excited about a Love over a lot of people, and I understand what you're saying. But let me say also on the Love point there, Saleh also has a penchant for really good inside linebackers, right?
Yeah.
So now I heard Mike Herndon yesterday with I think it was DVD, right? Yeah, DVD, the show that likes to have whole segments that rip me. But the point he made, and I kind of agree with him. It's like, so both of them, they're quote unquote non-premium positions. But if you're gonna compare those two, I'd probably go with the guy who like scores touchdowns and
yeah.
I get that. But again, it's like, look, if you tell me one of them, like Jeremiah Love is going to be a really good player, I think the floor for him is pretty freaking high. He's going to be a really good player. But if you're going to tell me he's going to be a really good player and that Sonny Styles is the next coming of Fred Warner, except he's even more of a freak, well, then you should have taken Sonny Styles in 3 years, we'll all be saying.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say on the point that Liam brings up about, we've got a problem that needs a solution and ignoring it doesn't help. Well, you do have a solution this year. It's not a good one, but Dan Moore is there. Like he is on the roster.
Who?
Like he is there. Yeah. Mandor is there. So you have one. Now, at some point, you're going to have to find the long-term solution. And I get that that's the point. So I understand all that. Where you don't right now have a solution and you got a big problem is edge rusher. You got Jermaine Johnson. There's a big hole on the other side of that you got to find a way to fill in this draft. So, I threw out the scenario earlier, Joe. What if you go Love at 4 and then an offensive tackle at 35? There's going to be somebody, if that happens, that looks around when we're on that show the following Monday after the weekend. They're looking around saying, so guys, they took an edge rusher in the 5th round. How do we think that's going to help? And which I get it. That's going to be something that we talk about if it plays out that way.
Yeah, no, for sure. And look, they've I think solidified the edge in terms of like solid players who can play with Martin and Johnson. And hey, let's not forget. I mean, I've almost forgotten about him at times, but like Oladejo, it's a huge year for him. I mean, is it impossible that he could make a huge leap? No, I mean, Borgonzi needs him to.
It'd be a huge leap.
It would be.
That's exactly what it would be.
It would be, yeah. It's like, again, I don't know internally, like, how they feel about the likelihood of that. But yeah, like there's gonna be something when you're this bad, your roster's this deficient. There's gonna be multiple places when it's all over. We'll look back and say, man, they really didn't address this very well or that very well. I mean, I hope that once the draft is over, because that's the thing about the Love argument, by the way. If you want to do the counter argument against Love, if they don't draft Jeremiah Love and they don't get him back, at the end of the draft, I'm not going to say, man, they are screwed at running back. They're not going to be great at running back, but like they can play next year at running back and be solid. Whereas some of these other positions, you wouldn't necessarily say that. But I would hope when it's all done, there's a receiver, there's an edge, and there is an interior offensive lineman for sure. Now, I would also like to see, an offensive tackle, but again, only if it's like someone that they think really could be. You can take a flyer on whatever late. I don't care. Take a flyer on whatever you want, like 5 and later, right?
Yeah.
Lean on your assistants, take flyer, But if they do take a tackle, you'd hope it would be someone that they actually think could be a starter.
Well, it's tackle to me, especially if you're talking left tackle. In some ways, it's pretty similar to the conversation we had on edge rusher. Like, you'll be hard pressed to find a long list of left tackles in this league that were drafted in like the 5th round. I mean, you can find some, but by and large, those guys drafted pretty high because of how important that position is.
And look, and if you want to take that to the Bain discussion, and by the way, that's another thing from Borgonzi is I believe him, that they talked to him, they looked into the whole situation. If they've
known about it since last summer, by the way.
Yeah. If they were to move down, I think Bain's on their board. I think if not, I think he would have answered that a different way. But that is where you get into where the measurables on tackles and on edges, there are certain things that people hit, and there aren't a lot of people who hit those things, and they usually go really high, just like he said with that answer to PK. Big guys, man. Like you get the big guy with the right bend, measurables, all these things, they usually go really high. And that is kind of why, like, you just don't see too many squatty offensive tackles who make it. And that's part of the thing with Bain, too. Like, history tells us that certain measurables are always a part of edges who have high levels of success in the NFL.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We will continue to take your thoughts on the Titans. Terron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock. We will get his thoughts from Mike Borgonzi's pre-draft press conference from yesterday as well. Coming up next, we will switch gears, get into the Nashville Predators. I'm putting you all in charge as general manager. You can make 3 changes this offseason that are realistic. So don't say trade for Connor McDavid.
Buy out Evangelista.
You can make 3 changes this offseason. What are they? Let us know. 615-737-1025. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping, outdoor patios, landscaping design, lawn maintenance, and more. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home with the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. We will have Terron Davenport with us at 8 o'clock. For his weekly visit, we will get his thoughts on the Titans and Mike Borgonzi's pre-draft press conference from yesterday. Taking your thoughts on the Predators, who wrapped up their season last night. And, Joe, they have missed out on the playoffs in back-to-back years. That is actually now 3 of the last 4 that they have not made the playoffs, with the one exception being the 18-game point streak year where they took the Vancouver Canucks to 6 games a couple of years ago. But other than that, it's been 3 out of 4 that they have missed the playoffs. And, we went through an exercise earlier this week about some of the things that I'd prioritize if I were general manager of this team. Well, I want to hear from Preds fans today. And I've given you, just for the sake of time and really to rank importance, because there's a lot more than I think 3 things to do this offseason. But you're the general manager if you're a Predators fan. I'll give you 3 things that you can change about the Predators this offseason from a roster standpoint that are within the scope of realism. So don't say, hey, go out to dinner with Sidney Crosby and convince him to finish out his career here, or, talk Edmonton into trading Connor McDavid to you. I'm talking within the scope of realism. We've already gotten some people, writing some stuff in, a couple things that I'm talking about here. Like Predemption on YouTube says, right off the top of my head, don't qualify Justin Barron, offer sheet Jason Robertson, trade Jonathan Marchessault. Like the offer sheet for Robertson, I don't think is likely, but it is within the scope of realism. So all that stuff makes sense. We got another texter on here that says, trade for Austin Matthews if he gets made available by Toronto, which, is not necessarily unrealistic. I'm very interested to see what happens for him. But you get a new coach, you get rid of Jonathan Marchessault, and you trade for Austin Matthews. Jacob from Hendersonville says, get rid of Justin Barron, get rid of Justin Barron, and get rid of Justin Barron for his 3 moves.
You may not like Justin Barron.
I like that.
Yeah.
You like the triple? You like the triple Justin Barron? That's really like your only move.
Probably.
That's good stuff. So those are some of the stuff that I'm looking for, right? Like Tyler says, convince Edmonton that our original valuation on Saros was a joke, and we'll take pennies on the dollar. Number 2, build a nice farewell video for Saros. And number 3, help Saros pack. This is Tyler on the text line. So hit us up. A lot of different thoughts rolling in. But, Joe, as you kind of look at some moves that are going to be possible and some decisions that the new GM is going to have to make, what are a couple things that maybe stand out to you?
Well, first of all, what stands out to me on the reaction is, and they keep coming in, try to trade Saros, try to trade Saros. Ethan from Lawrenceburg, I'd like to do everything in my power to trade Saros, so that means keeping $2 million a year of his contract. I'd do that for more in return. So, but first thing that I think of is wanting to play devil's advocate a little bit on that. Look, if you can do it, I'm not. We've talked about it. Certainly, is it possible? Is it possible that someone's going to take on all those years? Is it possible then he's going to waive, his no movement clause? It is. I think it's highly unlikely on the first part, probably more than the second part. Yeah. But also, it's not a giant chunk of the cap. It is possible he could play goaltender well in the future. And it's also very possible that if you do that, you're wandering in the goaltender wilderness on top of all your other issues, right?
Sure.
So, is it there's a high level of concern with him right now. High level of concern. But also, it may not be the worst thing to have him on your team in the next few years. It's possible he could come back to at least closer to his peak form. I don't think it's hard for me to think we're ever going to see a year where Saros is in the 920s in save percentage or up around the top of the league in saves above expected, which is what he was not that long ago. But could he get to the point where, like, okay, this is a solid starting goalie, and you don't have to worry about that position? And by the way, the number is not that big of a deal. The term is the deal, right?
Yeah.
And I like, to me, like, of course, I would definitely explore it. But also, like, there is a downside there, and there is a potential upside still to having him on your team.
I would agree. Look, the contract, like, it is what it is. Like, they're not going to start retaining salary on it. There's 7 years left on it, so like you at that point you might as well just let him play, right? Like, you might as well just let him be on your team and start to eat away at some of that number.
Like, you still may be better at goalie, like, and paying the money, paying him.
You don't want to get into retaining salary. I mean, that won't even enter their thought process on Saros's contract for like another 4 years, right? So, like, that is what it is. I mean, look, the term is the bad thing. Again, the money's not that bad, and the money's getting better every year with the cap going up, right? So, like, I'm not worried about necessarily the money part of the Saros thing, but as we've talked about, we don't need to relitigate this, but the term of it is just, it's a hard sell on the 30-year-old goalie that's going to be 31, I think, in 2 days, and that amount of term left on the deal. And frankly, I think that's a hard sell for a lot of teams around the league. So I think I'm not going to say it's unrealistic that Saros could get traded, because I've seen crazier things happen. But of the things that are rolling in with some of the ideas that people are throwing out there, it's toward the bottom of the realism list to me, because I don't think it's going to be that attractive of a deal to people around the league. And then, to your point, let's say it is attractive to somebody. Well, then Saros has to approve it. It's incredibly unlikely that he's anywhere else other than here to start next year.
Yeah. So you have to, like, look, there's a lot. I mean, any team that's bad, like, probably any team, but especially teams that are bad, a certain amount of your strategy is hope. Some things need to work out. I mean, there's a whole bunch of that with this franchise, with these young guys that we talk about all the time, and Brady Martin, becoming a great player, all that stuff. I mean, some of the reality for the Preds moving forward is that you just have to hope that he gets better, that he bounces back, that he is motivated after the way this season went. I mean, he basically gets sat down for the backup who's outplaying him, and then he plays bad in his last game, and it's just an overall bad season. It's a bad 2 years for him. You just have to hope that, and I think Saros has the right stuff intangibly. It's just a question of, his age, his size, how much better can he get? How much can he bounce back? But I think that's going to be part of the reality for this team in the next few years, is that pretty much you need that to happen. And if it's really bad, Robby, maybe in another couple of years, then maybe the conversation changes. But I think you're probably signing up for, like, the next 2 years, UC Saros is going to be the starting goaltender for the Nashville Predators.
Well, it's interesting to me that I'm looking through this, and I think I see there's maybe 2 votes so far for, as one of your 3 things, firing Andrew Burnett. I thought there'd be more. So
is that because people are just presuming that, or because people don't want it to happen?
Well, that's my question. Like, I think there is from a lot of people, there is a presumption that that's going to happen. And whether that presumption is actually going to take place, I have no idea. But I'm putting you in charge as GM out there. You, the Preds fan, you're in charge as GM. Like, is Andrew Burnett your coach to start next year? And I'm not saying you got to sign him to, like, some contract extension or anything, but I think he's got 1 year left on his deal. So do you let him start next season, or as a part of your offseason plan, would firing the coach move into your top 3? I guess is what I'm asking, right? Because there's so much to do. If you had to narrow it down to 3 of the big moves you can make this offseason, would the coach be involved in that? Or did he show you enough this year, based on the way things started and the way he kind of held it together and they got close at the end, that you're willing to start next season with him as the head coach? We'll take your thoughts on that. 737-1025. Keep your Preds thoughts coming on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. I got some tickets to give away to Team Boxing League as the Nashville Smash take on the Phoenix Fury at Municipal Auditorium coming up tonight. Call it 3 at 615-737-1025. We'll win a pair of tickets to Team Boxing League coming up tonight at Municipal Auditorium. Taking your thoughts on the Preds on our phone and text lines. Throwing it out there, you're the general manager. You can make 3 moves this offseason. What are them? And keep them within the scope of realism. But what are the moves that you're going to make? And we threw it out there, Joe, about Andrew Brunette. What happens with Andrew Brunette if you as a Predators fan were coming in as the next general manager? What would you do with Brunette heading into next season, who I believe has 1 year left on his deal? Buster says Bruno was brought in for a rebuild with young and fast skaters. Blaming him for Trotz bringing in oldies but goodies that work against the grain of his offense cannot be used as evidence that he's a bad coach. I hear some of that. Like, I would say this, your oldies.
The oldies are doing all right.
Doing all right, right? Like, Stamkos just scored 42 goals. O'Reilly just put up 70-plus points. Marchessault has not been a fit here. And pretty much across the board, like on most of these lists that are coming in from fans as to what they would do, trading Jonathan Marchessault is on the list. So I'm with you there. It clearly, and by the way, he didn't play last night. Like they had to sit somebody out of the lineup. They're going to put some of these young guys in, and Jonathan Marchessault did not play last night. So I guess there's a chance that he has played his last game as a Nashville Predators head coach. But, by and large, like the older guys, pretty good this year. So I still think the younger guys, how many of them are going to be really good NHL players? Like, I don't know the answer to that yet. And I do agree that the system that the Predators run, it should be conducive to being able to skate, being able to have some young guys that attack off the rush. And I don't think the Predators are an overly great rush team, Joe. Like, I think that's as they continue to infuse more youth into their lineup, that's got to improve with them. You got some guy, and people are the first name that they'll go to is probably Stamkos because of how old he is. Stamkos is one of their best skaters on the team. Like, if you just go look at the NHL edge stats, he can skate. Like, so I'm not worried about Stamkos skating right now, even at age 36. Like, the numbers tell me he still skates and moves pretty well. So I'm not overly worried about that. But there's no doubt, like, overall team speed-wide, Joe, they got to get faster. And I do think eventually that plays well into Brunette's system. But, like, if you're a new general manager, what do you do with Andrew Brunette? Because I think there's the idea of you could bring in your own coach, and that certainly could happen. I also don't think, like, to me, there's no harm, I guess is the way I would put it. There's no harm if you're the new general manager coming in holding on to Brunette, seeing how the start of next year goes, how some of the young guys are coming along. And, Joe, we know this league. If you're not happy with it in December or January, move on at that point. Like, there's no harm in that if you're the new GM.
That's true. Now, if you're the new GM and you come in, you don't have a guy, and you stick with Brunette, and that's your plan, but then also you do a little bit more of the going young model that you have talked about, like, you're probably going to lose, right? I mean, you're like,
probably.
Probably. Now, again, I suppose the Preds could surprise you. This first team under your watch could surprise you, and then boom, it's all working. But I mean, I guess you're also kind of, if that's the way you go, that combination of moves, then you're kind of signing up to fire someone in season next year. And if that's the case, maybe I guess I would I could make the case, if you're not like, okay, guys, look at what Stamkos and Forsberg just did. Of course, we're letting these prospects come. We're gonna filter them in, but in the meantime, like, we should be trying to win next year. Like, if that's the mindset, then I think it makes more sense to keep him. If it's like kind of a little bit more of a clean slate, step back, let's all be realistic, then to me it's like, well, then are you judging the coach on results next year? Because if you are, then all you're going to do is do the coach thing in season as opposed to right now.
Yeah, well, and look, maybe that's the case, but if you don't already have a coach in mind, like I don't think you make the move just to do that, right? Like you don't make a move just. I think there's some Predators fans out there that are like, oh, new general manager coming in, he's got to make a coaching change right now, and he doesn't. Like he doesn't have to do it right now. Now, if the new and I've been very consistent on this, and I think this is the way you have to operate if you're the Predators. If the new general manager that you hire wants to bring in a new coach, if you're Bill Haslam as an owner, you say, yep, go right ahead. Like that's what, to me, what you have to do. If you're Haslam in this situation, you leave it up to this next general manager of whatever you want to do. Like if you want to evaluate Brunette to start next year and then kind of make your decision as the year goes on as to whether or not he gets a contract extension, that's fine. That's what we'll do. If there's somebody right now, as we're sitting here in this general manager meeting before we hire you, that you are convinced would, number one, take the job and that you want to go hire, well, let's go do that. Like I think that's the way you got to operate if you're Bill Haslam in this situation. But I don't think it's like some foregone conclusion that, well, it's you bring in a new general manager, so that automatically has to mean a new coach to start next year.
Right. I think the fact that he's not mentioned a ton is when in these 3 move responses because it is down the list, right? Like they're he's to me, he has done a fine job. I understand they made the playoffs the last 2 years. That's what it is, but he's down the list for most people and should be. Then there's Gover, who says 1, fresh start behind the bench. 2, find a way to trade Saros. 3, offer sheet Jason Robertson. Gover's not here for little moves. He is not here for – Gover's here for big swings.
Those are all 3 big moves. There's no doubt about that. I mean, look, the offer sheet Jason Robertson, our buddy Jim Diamond has been talking about that for a while, and it is going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Stars in terms of, them trying to make all their moves fit. Some of that probably is going to be determined by what do they do, right? Like they got Minnesota coming up in the first round here. Is this the year that the Stars finally break through and like get to the Cup final and win a championship? If not, what if they lose in the first round of Minnesota? Which, by the way, I'm predicting they will. What if they lose in the first round of Minnesota? It's like, how does that affect what you do? So that part of it's going to be really interesting. I would also just say this. I mean, unless I'm misremembering something, I don't think the Predators have ever offer sheeted anyone ever in the history of their organization. And if you offer sheet Robertson, yeah, you'd get him, but you'd be giving up, I think, 4 first-round picks to do it if the deal went through. So
you better be ready to win now.
Better be ready to win. I just
Stamkos and Forsberg and Yossi would like it.
I love like the bold thinking behind that. I would put the percentage chance that they actually offer sheet Jason Robertson this offseason at about 0.5%.
I will say, to your point about they've never done it, they also used to never give no movement clauses. And that was one of the answers, by the way, on here, which is stop doing that. That's harder and harder to do in this league.
It's harder to do in this league. Hey, look, there are ways if you really want to. Like, for instance, and I don't think it'll go this way. But I'm using this as an illustration. Like, if you want to, as a general manager or as an organization, apply a lot of pressure on a player with a no movement clause, you can. It's like, well, you've got the no movement clause. Technically, it is up to you, but hey, if you're going to be here, you're going to be on the 4th line. Or like, let's say Saros, right? Like it gets down the road where Saros is like hell bent that he doesn't want to go anywhere. It's like, well, that's great. You're going to be the backup goalie here. Like you're going to be playing 25 games a year, right? And again, that's not going to happen right now. I'm just saying there are ways as an organization, if push comes to shove with a no movement clause, to apply enough pressure where you're probably going to find a deal at some point.
And usually don't have to get to that because it's just like, everybody knows it's not working. Hey, here's an opportunity for you. I would rather not give no movement clauses if I was a GM.
Same.
But I'd like to know right now, how many times has it actually come to the point where it's like, I know there's been a couple for sure, a few, where it's like, we're going to move you. I'm hitting the buzzer. The no movement clause is enacted. You have to work together, and usually you find a solution.
Well, and the bottom line is, for some guys who have multiple options in free agency, right? If you don't include a no movement clause, then they're not coming. right? And
Exactly.
It's not just as simple as that, but that is a part
It's
of it.
getting
right?
to that where it's like that's almost like, oh, you're not? Whereas it used to be more the outlier to do it.
Right, exactly. So just something to keep in mind there. 615-737-1025. We will get to your phone calls and text on the Predators coming up next. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Tee it up with us at the 5th annual 615 Open coming up May the 28th at Hermitage Golf Course. We are supporting Folds of Honor to help them fund life-changing scholarships for families of America's fallen heroes. You can register now to play or sponsor at 615open.com. We are taking your thoughts on the Predators. Let's head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Dustin in Hopkinsville to the program. Dustin, good morning. Keep it clean, please. What's going on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning, guys. It is a beautiful morning. Great day to be out and about working outside if you're working outside. And praise God for good health this morning. But here's what I got to say about Bruno. I keep him. If I'm a new GM, I'm coming in. Bruno, and I know GMs get more time than coaches. You know, in my opinion, 5 years, you know, is what I would give a general manager to turn my team around. After that, he ain't done anything cutting. But Bruno, you know, the reason why Barry Trotz did not fire him mid-season when everybody wanted him fired, a lot of people anyway, I didn't, is because he knew he gave him an old team. Are they talented, great players? Yes. But Bruno has showed that he does better than most coaches would with young talent that's fast. Okay? Now, when we sold off at the end of this season, not only were we still winning, but we put in these young, promising players, and Bruno showed you he can develop these guys. Why stop that momentum unless you're a GM who has an absolute dog of a coach in mind, you know is going to turn this team around? Bruno, you know, buys you one more year. Why stop that momentum? Why stop the rapport he has with these young guys? Keep some of the older guys, the Forsberg, you know, Yossi. I'd like to see him retire here, but you don't have to keep him. But, I mean, I think Bruno's going to be a great coach in this league, and I wouldn't want to be the team to give him up when I could keep him another year and see what he's actually got in the tank. If I'm a good GM, I leave him in there, and I let him develop these young guys, and I go make him some really good picks in this draft. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Dustin. Appreciate it. Yeah, like the interesting thing on that, and look, I have no idea if it's going to get to this or not, Joe, but like if you're Andrew Brunette and the new general manager comes in, and let's say the new general manager comes in with maybe an open mind, but doesn't know like right off the bat whether or not he's going to keep you as head coach or he's bringing in somebody else, and he's going to make that decision within like, you know, a short period of time, but he wants to meet with Brunette first and get his long-term kind of vision for the team. Well, I mean, one of the things that I'm saying, if I'm Andrew Brunette this year, is like, well, look at Matt Wood. Like and Andrew Brunette, I thought it was interesting a few weeks ago with us on the show, Joe. He's like, I've always kind of viewed Wood as a center, right? Like, and now that we've had some room to get him over there, he looks pretty good. Well, I'm pointing out, you know, Wood coming along at the end of the year at center. I'm pointing out, you know, some of the work that he's done with Evangelista. It didn't go well last year. Well, it went pretty well this year, right? And it looks like Evangelista's gotten to the other side of it. You know, I'm looking at some of these young guys as much as anything if I'm Brunette, and I'm trying to make the case to myself that way. And the other thing I'm saying is, look, it's pretty clear that even though we went through a very rough patch at the beginning of the year, I never lost the group. Those are probably the two things that I'm really harping on if I'm Andrew Brunette, trying to make the case to keep your job if it comes to that, Joe.
Yeah, for sure. Those are the cases to be made. Craig, one of Craig's is to try to find a coach with a system similar to what Carolina has. So that might make Brady Shea not look like the worst $8 million player in the league. Might be putting a little more on system than on just individual performance there, I would say, Craig.
Brady Shea's had a rough couple years.
Yeah, I mean, you're not. He should not. You should not give him a system excuse. He does not get a system excuse. April Important says, I'm fine keeping Bruno. I'm also fine with the new coach. I just want to make the playoffs again. It's my favorite time of year. I hate that it slipped away from us. 6 months is a long time with no hockey, and I'm already dreading it.
Yeah, I understand. Like it is a long time with no hockey. And, you know, building upon that, like you have no idea what the future is going to look like anytime soon, right? Like, you know, Stamkos, I thought, said it pretty well the other day to Alex Doherty. I can't tell you, just like you can't tell me what the future of this team looks like right now. And I think that's a a pretty good way to sum it up. Like, it's such in limbo with this general manager coming in here. And, I think the coaching staff is included in that. I think, a lot of your roster construction is included in that too. Look, I threw up my plan earlier this week, and it's basically opening up a lot of spots for like the young guys. And that's, that's fine. But I also could understand, Joe, if there's a general manager that look at it and says, I like the prospect pool. I like some of the young guys, and we're going to wait for those guys to get ready. But in the meantime, the current core hasn't made the playoffs in 3 out of the last 4 years. And if you want to just strictly go with, since the big free agency haul a couple years ago, as Stamkos put it, they have failed to make the playoffs the last couple of years. So look, we mentioned heading outside the organization, right? Well, one of the things that I think you put on the table when you go outside of the organization with your hire, and it looks like, by the way, that's what the Predators are going to do. Friedman put it out there that Jeff Kelty got an in-person interview as the general manager, and the Predators, from what he's gathered, are going to prefer to go external with their candidate, which I think is welcome news to a lot of Predators fans. But, Joe, one of the things that, you start to think about when you do go external is, well, what does that mean for guys like Yossi? And what does that mean for guys like Forsberg, right? And how are they viewing the direction of this team? Much less, Marchessault and Stamkos, guys who haven't been here for a while. But when you go external with these candidates, Pierre LeBrun put it in an article in The Athletic a few weeks ago. And he was like, there was nothing being reported about it. But what he said was, hey, man, like, depending on which way the Predators decide to go here with the new GM, keep an eye on Roman Josi. He's got a couple years left on his contract, and I would imagine Roman Josi probably wants to compete for another Stanley Cup at some point before he closes out his career. Like, I think you got to start thinking about all these things when you go external with your GM hire.
Yeah, and the thing is with Josi, I think there's been a sentiment that I've heard. I think we've talked some about it, that in the organization there's a strong desire for him to be a career-long one-team Nashville Predator, sure. Right? You love having that, but you're changing the organization now, and I don't think anything's off the table. It doesn't change his greatness with the Preds or what he's done, or anything like that. Sometimes that just happens, and you're trying to win. You're trying to do whatever you can to help yourself. So, I think if there was someone who saw enough in him, and he still had a good year, like you said the other day, Robby. The pot stuff, and there was a lot of questions about him. I think he's answered some of those. So if you got someone who's willing to give you a big haul, then I think you have to be open to it. And a new GM with, you would expect quite a few new people in the organization, it's probably easier to do something like that.
Well, and I just bring up Josi as an example, but I guess my point on that is, there's also the possibility that the general manager, whoever it is, ends up getting hired, that comes in here and says, this team needs big changes. Like, there needs to be a complete overhaul of like some of the veteran core, like, right. And we've talked about going younger, and that may be what they decide to do. But part of that, the new general manager could look at the older core of this roster and be like, we got to get some of these guys out of here, like, right now. Like, we got to start changing up this group right now and changing the DNA of the team. Like, I don't know. That's what, when you go external with the hire and you haven't made the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years, present that exact same situation to a lot of incoming general managers to new teams around the league. And what you're going to see them do is make large changes.
Yeah, no question about it. So I'm distracted because Vingan is in our chat again, and he's taking strays. So
no,
the YouTube chat has become a referendum on Adam Vingan's negativity.
Oh,
Vingan,
there you go. I think Vingan, defend yourself.
Vingan, are you trying to leave your show and join our show? Is that what's going on here? Is that actually the story here? Vingan, are Willie and Dean Mace, are they bullying you? This is a safe space, Adam.
Good question. Let's quickly head to the phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Ryan to the program. Ryan, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
What's going on, guys? How are y'all?
Good, man.
Good.
I definitely agree with you, Robbie, that Yossi and Forsberg have got to be on the table for trade because the new game in the NHL is speed. And, the teams like the Panthers and the Sharks and a couple other teams, like the Lightning, they're all about speed. And, it's not about buying players. It's about getting younger and getting points. So I definitely agree with that point for sure. So what do you think about that?
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate the call. Let me be clear. I did not advocate for them trading Roman Josi or Philip Forsberg. I'm just saying that when new general manager and new people come into your organization, they don't have the same level of attachment to these players that people within the organization do, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. I guess it depends on how you view it. But that's my point is, I'm not necessarily advocating for them to trade Roman Josi or Philip Forsberg.
But you have to assume
but
you
you
put
have
more
to
things on
assume
the
that-
table that you
put
might
more
have
things
before.
on the table, right?
Yep.
Like more things are on the table when you hire external. I don't think there's any doubt about it. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll have the Rob rant coming up next. TD with us at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robbie and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
We're talking deli meats, talking football.
You're overly addicted to Hendon Hooker because you followed him with the Vols and somehow became a cheerleader rather than a reporter.
I want more PK.
What are you, the almighty?
I mean, it's not like Gronk, like
Football.
I have a feeling you eat a lot.
Yes, I eat a lot. I need a big sausage. There was a lot of meat, you know what I mean? And of course, I ate all of it.
You can't stay away from shellfish, meat, and meat.
And then throughout the day, I continued to graze like a buffalo.
Much prefer a horse.
The horse is, nice looking.
It is time for the Rob Rant, brought to you by Rapid Response Generators. Power when it matters the most. Check them out today at rapidresponsegenerators.com. We got TD coming up to begin the 8 o'clock hour. Joe, just to continue our Preds conversation, there is one thing that I think has started to come up again in the conversations that I've heard, and that will come up more and more as we get closer to the offseason and the NHL draft and all that stuff, that I want to go ahead and stop here. And I think if you've paid really close attention to the team, you would put it on stop too. Like there's this idea out there, and I heard this a lot last year, and we talked about this earlier in the week. If the Predators won the draft lottery last year, well, you can't take Matthew Schaefer because, they don't, you got to find a way to draft a center. And it's like, well, Matthew Schaefer's pretty darn good and is like far and away the best prospect in the draft. And by the way, look at the year Matthew Schaefer just had this year. Here's some breaking news for Predators fans.
He's going to be great.
He's going to be great. The Predators need defensemen too. I understand that this is the organization that drafted Shea Weber and Ryan Ellis and Seth Jones and Ryan Suter. And look, they went through a run for a long time where they drafted a lot of great defensemen. Roman Josi, as we've just talked about. That's a heck of a pick. I mean, he's probably the best player in the history of their franchise. By the way, when's the last time they drafted one of those guys? It's been a minute, man. Like maybe Tanner Molendijk turns into that next one.
You hope.
But it's been a long time since they've gotten one of those guys. And by the way, I understand they need more centers. If you're a Predators fan, you need them to start stockpiling enough centers where you look around one day and it's like, wow, the Predators have too many centers. Think about having that problem if you're the Nashville Predators. It'd be a great problem to have, and I get that. They gotta find a way in the next 3-4 years here to totally restock on defense, right? They just have to. So I understand if you've been a Predators fan for a long time that there's this natural aversion to focusing on defensemen because they have done so well historically drafting there. But it's been a minute, man. They need some help on defense too. Hey, look, they've got some young guys even beyond Molendijk in their prospect pool that I am interested to see how they develop as defensemen. But by no means do I look at their prospect pool right now on D and think that their future is just solved on defense right now. So all that to say, if they end up picking 10th this year and they draft a defenseman, bravo, Nashville Predators. I'm cool with it.
So basically, you're saying that they suck even more than maybe we even give them credit for, because all we ever talk about is center ice.
Well, I'm just saying that if you watch the Nashville Predators this year, I don't think you came away with the conclusion that this defense was some big strength of the team, right? Not very good. It's all right. Roman Josi played at a high level, and I thought Perbix was fine and Haig was okay as he kind of settled in later in the year, but it ain't very good.
Yeah, the history of the organization is obviously tremendous success finding defensemen and goaltenders, and in both cases, right now, there's uncertainty. They're different because they have a goaltender signed, but that's been a lot of the responses today too. But so you still have the forward thing. You still have, and again, you're hoping that Brady Martin becomes one of those. Hey, look, it was a new era that Trotz started by drafting him. But in the meantime, right now, it's just overall, you're just not good enough in any area.
Let's head back to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Ricky to the program. Ricky, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys. Hey, I have a question, and then I wanted to get an opinion. My question is, are both you guys as fed up as I am and a bunch of my hockey buddies are with the three-point game in the NHL? If you look at some teams, they ended up with almost 30 points coming out of overtime this year. And then you look at other teams that didn't get to go to OT, maybe lose 10 games 3-2 or 4-3. And those extra points make such a big difference in the NHL nowadays. And as a traditionalist, I hate the three-point game. I just wish it would be done away with. Let's get to the 2-point game. It's either a tie or a win, and let's move on. And my other question was, hockey, I don't think a lot of people understand. At the draft, it's not really a specific, unless you're in the top 5 and you have 2 can't-miss centers, it's a draft the best player available sport and then develop your team around what your farm system consists of. A lot of people, I think, miss the point is, like you said, Schaefer. Anybody who says they wouldn't have taken Schaefer last year really isn't a true hockey fan. That kid is the best coming of a defenseman since Bobby Orr.
Thank you for the call, Ricky. Appreciate it.
Hey, dropping the mic on that last comment.
I don't know that I'd go there, but I mean, look.
But he's awfully good.
He's awfully darn good.
He's really good.
He's going to be right there with the best defenseman in the league for a long time. I mean, he's already making a case. So, like, it's going to be a great pick by the Islanders. I mean, look, the three-point game, I would say this. Most years I'm fine with the point system. This year, it's been taken to an extreme level because LA made it, right? Like, the fact that LA has gotten into the playoffs with how many games they've lost in overtime this year and how highly average of a team they actually are. Like, I'm kind of in some ways rooting for Colorado to just eviscerate them in the first round so we don't have to deal with it. But, like, if Colorado just goes out there and sweeps LA, like, people are going to look at it and say, good God, how did we allow this team to get in the playoffs? But, some of that's on the rest of the West, right? Like, you got to it was a down year for the Western Conference. Like, other than the top of the top in the Central Division, it was kind of a bad year for the Western Conference.
I'm with the caller. Bring back the Adams, Norris, Patrick, and Smythe divisions now.
There we go. We will have Terron Davenport with us coming up next. We will get back into the Predators to close out the show as well later in the 8 o'clock hour. TD with us coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
ESPN's Terron Davenport talking Titans now on Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. It is that time of the week. We head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our man Terron Davenport to the program, presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. TD with us every Friday morning at 8 o'clock. Terron, good morning, buddy. How we doing?
Good morning, man. It was just this time last week. I had some optimism about my Mets, but boy, oh boy, reality has sunk in soon.
It's early. I was giving up on my Tigers a week ago. So
yeah, what a mess. But hey, on a positive note, Robby, congrats on completing another season covering the Preds, man. That's awesome, and I couldn't imagine being able to cover the team that you grew up loving, man. I'm sure that's a great feeling, man. Congrats on that.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Yeah, 16 seasons in the books last night, which is hard to believe.
Dang.
But it goes by very quickly this time around.
You're getting old.
So, I am. There's no doubt about that. So the lack of hair and the gray in the beard would definitely suggest that. So, TD, we were talking earlier in the show about Mike Borgonzi and his press conference yesterday. And look, I really enjoy Mike Borgonzi. I think in some ways, he's kind of mastered the art of saying a lot of things, but not really saying anything at all. But I did enjoy his press conference yesterday. If you had to walk out of there, TD, with one prevailing takeaway, what do you think it was for you yesterday?
That's a really good question. One prevailing takeaway.
Was there one?
There's so many directions, but you know what? Let's start with this. He seemed to have accepted the fact that they are more than likely going to have to draft, or not have to, but they're going to be steered in a direction of drafting a non-premium position at number 4. I think that's really interesting, because I asked him if this is a unique draft from that perspective, and he said yes, and that's when he pointed to Love and Jeremiah Love and the Ohio State defenders. That's what he said, the safety and linebacker. And I think, you look at that, and it really seems like the direction there that it's going is it's going to be Love versus Styles. And, man,
yeah, 2
non-premium positions.
yeah, well, that was going to be my question for you, TD, because we were talking about it earlier, and like PK sort of assessed. He read into, like, early on, asked about Love. Borgonzi mentions like the edge guys, doesn't mention Styles. But I thought when he was asked later, I think that was by Love gossip columnist Stilly, if I'm not mistaken. But when he was asked later about by him about Styles, I thought he borderline gushed as he's talking about the things we all know, like Styles, like testing off the charts and everything. So the question being, like, do you come away more or less not convinced, but potentially believing that at 4 they might make the Styles choice?
I come away believing that that's very possible, and I think the main thing, and I tried to get something out of him as well. Asking, well, is this scheme, does this make middle linebacker a premium position as opposed to a lot of other schemes? And that's when he got into Tremaine Edwards and Fred Warner. I think it's really Styles versus Love, and I think they go Styles here, man. I really do, and I know a lot of fans are going to be upset, but you got to remember, like, there's 7 or 8 other draft picks. Could have picked 35. So,
well, TD, speaking of pick 35, I threw this scenario out there earlier because, look, as you are very well aware, Titans fans are totally over the idea of drafting offensive tackles, considering how many offensive tackles that they have drafted over the last 5 years. But, like, as Borgonzi said yesterday, those big guys, like, they're hard to find. And if you go Jeremiah Love at number 4, and let's say they do draft an offensive tackle at number 35, and whoever it is their best player on the board, you're helping out your number 1, your quarterback, but number 2, Jeremiah Love, by doing that. So, like, what would you make of it if that's the way it plays out and it's, either Styles at 4 or Love at 4, and then they go offensive tackle at 35?
Man, listen, if they go Styles at 4 and then tackle at 35.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Are you ready for the fan response to that, TD?
Oh, my goodness.
I'm going to say no. I'm not one
turn off
who
your
likes
mentions.
to engage in. Man, listen, no. But I see what you're saying, though. And if they do that, like if they go tackle at 35, I think a guy like Dan Moore Jr., like he has to be like, uh-oh. Because essentially that's saying, hey, we got your replacement. You got another year and you're out of here. And I think Max Iheanacho out of Arizona State, that's a good option at 35. Don't be surprised if it's a guard too, and if they want Jeremiah Love in a guard, I think that would be more palatable to the fans than Styles and a guard. But man, like it could get pretty ugly.
Yeah, it kind of sounds fun to me, actually, but we'll see. Now, so you mentioned Love. There's another thing that a little bit of arguing today, TD, and I've heard this some, and it's like this one needs to go away, which is the idea of how could you draft Love when the offensive line is in this position? I mean, to me, if you have a chance to draft a great football player, you draft a great footbal player. You don't have to have perfect conditions. I mean, obviously, we talked about Cam Ward last year. Can they support him? And that was a fair discussion. But to me, it's like, I mean, Ashton Genty didn't have a great rookie year, but the Raiders are probably so glad they have him. And the idea is to improve around him, right? So that idea, also just the run blocking aspect of this line, it seems like people forgot that it actually got to a pretty decent place last year.
Thank you. And as you were saying, how could you draft Love with this offensive line? That's immediately what I thought too, right? And Robert Saleh said it himself. Hey, man, Tony Pollard had 100 yards rushing against me last year. Like, you know what I'm saying? And you look at that stretch. I mean, say what you want, but Pollard and Spirit, like, they were toting that rock, man. And the lanes were opening for them, and they were able to run the football. So, I don't think it would be a negative thing to draft him with this offensive line how it is. I mean, obviously, you still got to figure out the right guard situation at center. Slopeman is looks like he's going to have that. Jackson Slater, if he takes over at guard now, you got one of the guys that played for you at the end of the year. So I don't think the offensive line is in as much shambles as people seem to believe. Is it top tier? Of course not. But is it bottom of the barrel? Not there either. So I don't think it's at a point where it's a detriment to a Jeremiah Love. And you got to remember, Jeremiah Love, he also has that BYOB, and I ain't talking about bringing your own beer. He brings his own blocker. You know what I mean? And sometimes he could bounce it outside and run away from a guy that, is in the backfield to get the TFL, or he could spin out of a tackle. You saw what he did against Pittsburgh. Obviously, it was down the field, but he could do that same thing in the backfield. Like, he has elusiveness if that needs to come into play.
Like, do we think every great running back or running back season in this league also had a great offensive line? No. Great running backs have overcome bad offensive lines. I mean, I can tell you about Barry Sanders. Now, he had good lines at times, but then it got worse, and he continued to be great, right? I mean,
yeah, no doubt about it. Like, not everybody's going to be blessed the way Emmitt Smith was, not
Thank
get
you.
He was 4 yards down the field, and not to take anything away from Emmitt, because he's durable as a daggone whatever you want, a Honda Accord, you know what I mean? But he just, had an advantage blocking wise.
So TD, when Ward got hurt in the last game of the year in Jacksonville, I think some of the initial fears from Titans fans were, well, how deep into the offseason is that going to linger? How much is that going to limit his work? And to see that he could be participating in mini camp in June, he's already throwing the ball. Like, I feel like that's really good. The more time he can get with Brian Daboll, the better. So, how big a deal is it from your standpoint of him making as much progress and being as on track as he is in the shoulder recovery?
Yeah, it's huge, as PK would say. You know what I mean? It's big time, because when you look at as you mentioned, needing to get that on the field work with Brian Daboll and get to that level where he's, above surface level understanding of the offense, right? You want him to master it so he could just play. But the thing that I like about all of this is when he spoke to us at the locker room cleanout, the end of the year presser, he said he wasn't concerned about the offseason program because his goal was to tweak the mechanics with the footwork. And now you have Dable come in, and Dable's like, hey, man, we're not going to tweak his throwing motion. We want the footwork to be right. So here it was, they were on the same page before they were even together. You know what I mean? And you look at that, and what Dable wants is for him to be able to play better in the pocket, right? And the footwork is going to get there so he can hit his landmarks, etc. But he still wants him to be able to make those off-schedule plays and do those things. So he's still encouraging it. So I think you look at everything, it's really good that he's getting on the field and going to be likely to be able to throw because it's just more work, more banked reps, and more opportunities to get a better grasp of the offense. Then not to mention getting the timing down. You got a new slot receiver, and that slot receiver and quarterback relationship, it's different because you've got to be on the same page all the time and read the defenses correctly, together and react together also. So there's a lot involved with that. Getting him on the field, it's big time for them.
TD, I know you've discussed it this week, but just one more time, want to acknowledge the loss of Dave McGinnis as we kind of sort through that this week and just the impact that he had on you being around him.
Man, it's funny. My heart dropped. What was it? Wednesday, I think it was. I was driving and I saw a black Ford Explorer, tinted out, and I'm just like, damn. This is a guy that, I say no bad days and stuff like that, and I try to, I strive to live that way. This dude, I've never seen him like have a bad day, man. Every day, you're walking into the facility, and you hear his voice, and it's him, and he always has something funny to say. But I tell you, going back to 2019, man, 2019, right? I for whatever reason, like I was down. I didn't feel like I was, doing my job really well. And I remember coming to the facility the one time, and he pulled me aside, and he was like, "Hey, man, I watched your whiteboard video. TD, you really know this rhymes with it." And I was like, "Yo, like, how the hell did you know I needed to hear that?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just felt so good after him saying that. And it's just the impact that he had on so many people. It's shown. I mean, you go right there, the door to the OTP where they record their Titan show. I mean, there's notes and pictures all over the place. And I mean, man, huge impact. It's a tremendous loss. There aren't too many people who walk this planet that have the degree of realness that Coach Mack had, man. So, rest in power, Coach. We all love you, and man, thank you for the impact that you had on each one of us.
Very, very well said. TD, great stuff
Well
as
said,
always,
man.
man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us, and have yourself a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week, and when we are, TD, we'll be talking about the first round of the draft already completed. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, how about that, man? Time flies, but I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
you
TD.
as well. Terron Davenport with us, presented by Bart Durham Injury Law. We'll take your reaction to TD. Take your questions on the Titans, 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, presented by Green Ventures Landscaping. Property managers, if you manage it, they maintain it. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Our football offseason coverage brought to you by Tennessee Brew Works. Raise a glass with Tennessee Brew Works, proud partner and official craft beer of football offseason coverage here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Appreciate TD for being with us in the last segment. We are taking your response, your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Rexrode, as the agent of chaos that we know that you are you now totally rooting for Sonny Styles at 4 and an offensive tackle at 35?
Well, I'm rooting to watch like football that doesn't make my stomach turn on Sundays around here at some point. So as fun as that would be, the utter meltdowns that would take place, I'm more interested in actual decent football at some point materializing. Now that could happen with that combination of Sonny Styles is going to turn all that playmaking. What was he? 99% tackle rate last year and the ridiculous measurables, turn that into being a great player, the centerpiece of a great defense. And you finally fix your offensive line woes. It may not have as much an impact on the bottom line this year, but if the choices are correct, I'll keep an open mind on it. Look, if you want to talk about just enjoyment of watching football in the short term, I would raise my hand for Jeremiah Love, because it'll be a lot more fun next year if they go with Love, right? You'll immediately have this young star on offense with the ball in his hands, and he'll make plays. He'll be very good. At the very least, he'll be very good with this offensive line, even if like the center and right guard aren't adequately addressed with whatever they've done or whatever I guess they might do in the draft. That'll be way more fun next year. But I'm more interested in, and I think the Titans are too, and like, are you putting in building blocks that can actually send you toward having a great football team? And maybe Love isn't the way to go in that case.
I'm kind of pulling for it now. The agent of chaos that I am kind of pulling for it. No,
that's good.
I am totally with TD that I think it's going to come down to Love or Styles, and I would put myself a little bit more on the team Mike Herndon front of, like, I'd rather have the guy scoring touchdowns. And by the way, like, I think Styles is going to be a great player in the NFL, but I also think Jeremiah Love is going to be a great player in the NFL. So, like, to me, not that I'm some great talent evaluator or some draft guru, but watching both of them play, like, yeah, I think you're going to be fine either way if that's the way you go if you're the Titans. So I'll go Jeremiah Love. Like, I would love to see, again, no pun intended, the quarterback being helped out by a skill position player that other teams actually have to game plan for, because the Titans don't have very many of those right now.
So do you not? So you think Bailey and Reese are both going to be gone?
I think they are. I will be. I won't be stunned if they're not both gone. I will be surprised if they're not both gone.
Because the Cardinals are taking the one who isn't taken second, or because someone's moving up to 3?
Because the Cardinals take the one who isn't taken second.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Okay. And if not, though, you would bump whichever edge is left over these two guys?
That is correct. I would go Bailey or Reese over Love and Styles. That's just me.
We agree too much on this show, but I mean, I hate to do it, but
we're smart.
I agree with you. That's true. We're equally geniuses. Vingan continued to take strays on the YouTube chat, and Jared is, I guess, apparently like we think we're all smart and listeners are dumb or something. I don't know what he's trying to say.
Oh, I think there are plenty of smart listeners, smarter than me.
I do too. I said the only person who may be that kind of arrogant is Kaharski. Let's make sure if Vingan's going to take strays, we need to make sure Kaharski does too.
Mike, is there a single fan out there that's smart at all, or are they all stupid? Let us know.
Cooked carrots. Let me feed you your broccoli.
Clip it. We'll have weekend winners coming up next. Take your thoughts at 615-737-1025. The Nashville Sounds taking on Worcester today. The Red Sox at First Horizon Park. First pitch at 6:35. Catch all the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Family Leisure and Social Cantina. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
It's time to pick some winners. We hope. Robby and Rexrode have weekend winners for you. Now
On ESPN.
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is time for weekend winners here on the program. Playoffs are here, and it's a beautiful thing here in the competition. A standings update. Rexrode with the best week last week, 3-3 with his lock. Ian and I both went 1-5 with no lock. Not very good last week.
Terrible.
Which means Rexrode has vaulted back up to the top in the standings.
Let's
24-24 overall, 4-4 in his locks, 28 points. I am 23-25, 4-4 in my locks, 27 points. Ian 19-29 overall, 6-2 on his locks, 25 points. So still a very tight competition, but Rexrode back in first place. Joe, what does this honor mean to you?
I'm going to make a little papier-mâché crown today for myself and wear
Good.
it around town.
I'm glad that you will. We begin with the Golden State Warriors, Joe's beloved Dubs, taking on the Phoenix Suns today. We're going straight up in this one because why not? Joe, who we got? Do I even need to ask? Who
No,
you got
yeah,
between the Warriors and the Suns.
I got to go with my Dubs. Did you see Fart Face and what he said? You know who I'm talking about, Dylan.
Fart Face.
Fart Face.
Dylan Brooks?
Yeah, Dylan Brooks. He's like, I was rooting for them. Why? Steph, Draymond, Steve Kerr. That's all he said. Like, he wants to like kill them or something. I don't know. That guy's tough to stomach. But I understand people think the same thing about Draymond. But yeah, I got to go with my Dubs.
I will go with the Warriors as well, just because it's the Phoenix Suns. So I'll go the Warriors. Ian, the Warriors and the Suns. Who you got?
I guess I'll take the Warriors. I haven't seen the Suns play once all year.
They're better.
Couldn't tell you one person on their team other than Joe just said Dylan Brooks.
There you go.
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker's still on their team.
Yeah.
Okay. He is good. Devin Booker's good.
He's very good.
I don't know. I guess to get 3.5 points, right? So we'll take the Warriors. Maybe it's a bucket.
There you go. The Warriors. Clean sweep for the Warriors straight up in this game. All right. Game one between the Minnesota Wild and the Dallas Stars, which it's ridiculous that they're playing this series in the first round, but it is what it is. And I don't guess it's changing anytime soon. We'll go game one here straight up. Give me the Minnesota Wild to get on the road, Joe Rexrode, and to land a game one win over the Dallas Stars for John Hines and company. I'll take the Wild. Ian Safar, who we got in game one between the Wild and Stars?
This should be a pretty fun series. That game in the end of the regular season there got pretty hairy. Get a little spicy. I don't know. Something about Minnesota in the playoffs, though. Not
good.
Not good. It's only game one, so it's not like, hey, this is like Minnesota playoff choke time or something like that. But I'm going to take the Stars to get things started.
Joe Rexrode, game one between the Wild and the Stars, the former North Stars.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yes, they were. In the old Norris division that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to go with the Wild, too. I'm with the Wild stealing game one. Speaking of strays in the YouTube chat, John Hines taking some, preemptive strays. If they do make a run, it has nothing to do with him. Maybe John Hines can coach a little bit. Just saying.
It has nothing to do with the coach. Okay. It's a hot take.
People are bracing for him to win the cup.
Tennessee and Ole Miss coming up this weekend in college baseball. We'll go series winner in this one. Ian Safar, who we got?
Did not go well on the baseball last week.
Sure didn't.
So, who knows? Ole Miss.
There you go. Ole Miss. Joe Rexrode, who we got between Ole Miss and the Vols this weekend?
Yeah, I think the Vols may have turned their season around with the series against the other Mississippi team. So at home, I think I like their chances to win the series. Give me the Vols.
Give me the Vols too. I think they win 2 of 3. So congratulations to Ole Miss for their series win this weekend. But give me the Vols to win the series. We move to the individual portion of the program. Ian Safar, who we got with your first individual selection?
Okay, I'm gonna go for my lock this week. Give me my Knicks.
Guarantee.
-5.5 versus the Hawks. NBA playoffs tomorrow.
Game one.
Game 1.
Well, it's tonight, right? Oh, no, it is tomorrow.
I think it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
It is tomorrow. Yep.
Rexrode, your first individual selection.
Well, I'll start with my lock, too. My Detroit Tigers, as I've already mentioned to you, have won 6 in a row, gone from 4-9 to 10-9, and incredibly dramatic. You know, I was going to send Ian some audio, some of the calls, just so I could, like, you know, I don't know, like totally, like, geek out on the air. It's probably good I didn't do that. But tomorrow, the Tigers are in Boston. Tomorrow, this is a Saturday game.
Okay.
Tarek Skubal on the mound. Give me Tarek Skubal every time I get a chance to pick Tarek Skubal. Tigers straight up, make it my lock Saturday.
Guaranteed. I believe that would be Tigers minus the 1.5, but we'll go Tigers minus the 1.5.
Oh, okay. Are they minus 1.5? Because I looked
Yes.
and it wasn't on there. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
The Red Sox are not good, but
yes.
It'll be the Tigers minus the 1.5 on Saturday. Lock it down on that. Give me the Colorado Avalanche minus 1.5 against the LA Kings in game 1 and make it my lock. Guaranteed. They might win by 5. We'll see. I mean, the Kings legitimately are good defensively, but they cannot score. I will go Colorado to totally blitz LA in game 1 minus 1.5. Joe, they could put that line at minus 3.5, and I might still take it in a playoff game.
Man. It's playoffs, man. Weird
is
stuff
playoffs.
happens.
We'll see how it goes. Joe Rexrode, your second individual selection.
Okay, NBA playoffs. Rockets, Lakers. Lakers banged up. They're at home. They're getting 5.5. I'm going to take the Lakers to at least cover and possibly even surprise people and get a game 1 win at home.
Going with the Lakers plus the 5.5 against the Rockets. Give me Tampa and Montreal in game 1. The over-under for goals is 6.5. That's going to be, number one, an awesome series. Give me the under 6.5 in game 1. I think it's going to be tight out there. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of room. And I think you're going to see a pretty physical series there with two teams that aren't necessarily known for their physicality, but it's the playoffs. Give me under 6.5 goals in game 1 between the Lightning and the Montreal Canadiens. Ian Safari, your second individual selection.
Nashville SC at Atlanta. Dub.
Okay, you're off the draw. You're off the draw train.
Let him down last week on the draw train. They won the game, so that's good stuff.
Going forward. This one's tough. The Atlanta, match is always kind of like a Southern, rivalry
grinder
thing. And Nashville, Atlanta, it's close enough. Atlanta's coming off a midweek game too in their U.S. Open Cup, so I'm interested to see how they respond. But I think I'm going to take Nashville SC. Dub. Give me the win.
There we go. I like it. Give me the Edmonton Oilers minus 1.5 against the Anaheim Ducks coming up in game 1. I would assume Draisaitl going to be back in there, and even if he's not, McDavid may score 7 goals by himself. Anaheim is abysmal on defense. Abysmal. But they'll hang in there. Neither team is going to be able to stop a puck in this series. I'll go the Oilers minus 1.5 against the Anaheim Ducks in game 1. Ian Safari, your final individual selection.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the NBA. I was tinkering with that Lakers game, but I think I'm going to take the Nuggets minus 6.5 versus the T-Wolves at home.
Nuggets minus 6.5 against the Timberwolves at home in game 1.
Saturday.
Joe Rexrode, your final individual selection.
And this was almost my lock. Also, the NBA playoffs, Raptors, Cavs. I think this is not going to be a good series. The Cavs are minus 8.5 game 1. They're going to blow them out. And I think they're going to, at worst, we're talking about a gentleman's sweep here. Give me the Cavs minus 8.5.
Going Cleveland minus the 8.5 against the Toronto Raptors. Hopefully the NBA playoffs at some point provide us with a couple of good series. That'd be nice.
Oh, I think we'll have some.
Hockey ones.
I think we'll have some.
The hockey ones look pretty good.
Hockey ones look better early for sure.
Overall series, they look pretty intriguing. They could be fun.
Hockey ones are always better early.
Yeah.
Will they, as a hockey fan, I would like to save some of them for a little bit later. Like I'd love to see Dallas and Minnesota and, like the second round, maybe. That'd be nice. But that's just me. See how it goes.
I'm sure Gary's listening.
Buffalo,
I'm just glad there
Buffalo,
are no
Boston. How about that? Not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. Like I'm glad there are no NBA playoff games, at least that I can tell at the moment, that have like a 20-point line, like we saw last week on the NBA lines.
Yeah, that is nice. Get away from that. Tank time's over. Thank goodness.
I will say the Celtics are favored by 12.5 in game 1.
All right.
That's a large number
that's
for a
big
playoff
number.
game.
Yeah. Yeah. You always have some stinkers in the first round of the NBA.
Yep. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We will wrap up the show coming up next. We got more of your thoughts to get to on the Titans, on the Preds. We'll get to it all. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Final segment of the day, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Joe, one texter asking how far down we could trade, talk about the Titans, and still having a shot at drafting Jeremiah Love. I'd put it to you this way. That 12-20 scenario we threw out of Dallas moving up earlier this week, I don't think you're moving down to 12 and still getting Jeremiah Love. Like you could maybe move down to maybe 7 or 8. Much past that, I'd have my doubts he's still there.
Yep, serious doubts. I think he's definitely going to go in the top 10. Been wrong before, but I mean, there's too many possible teams along the way as you look there close to the bottom of the top 10 that I think would have to be like, dude, this is like I'd be surprised if Jeremiah Love, again, just straight up as a football player, the big board would be lower than like 3 for many teams.
I would agree. What if Arizona takes him? That's not going to happen, I don't think. But what if he does? What if they do?
I mean,
and you get one of those edge rushers.
Yeah, for sure. It's possible. And again, Maui Noah is possible too. I didn't know about this. Eric in Buffalo's, he's moving on from Smashville to the Saberhood. I did not know about the Saberhood, but that's kind of sweet. And yes, 13-year drought. Congrats to the Sabres fans. Red Wings fans, step right in and with your sucky franchise with Todd McClellan almost crying after the 8-1 loss as the season ends with his 19-second press conference. He's just completely disgusted with the Red Wings. Sorry, I keep hijacking the show for my teams today, but I see my fellow Tigers fan Jake Lyman in the house now, so we're both feeling all right now.
I really like Todd McClellan. He can get mad sometimes. He was pretty mad the other night. It is if you're a Predators fan that's been a Predators fan for a long time. I know the rivalry with Detroit basically doesn't exist anymore because they're not in the same division or even in the same conference. But it is, as somebody who grew up at a time where they were just dominating the league, it's objectively amazing to me that they have the longest playoff drought in the National Hockey League right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really sweet. Really sweet. The Pistons are and the Tigers are taking up the slack. Todd McClellan.
The Red Wings wore teal like the Pistons did back in the day. That helped.
Maybe. Let's get some teal horses on that uni along with the winged wheel. Little teal horse riding the winged wheel. Maybe that'll fix
a reverse jinx.
Yeah. There you go.
Go Bizarro.
Yeah.
How'd that horse get on the wheel there? That's amazing. Is Grant Hill dropping the puck for the opening faceoff? Crazy.
I'm willing to try about anything. And I'm including maybe firing my childhood hero, Stevie Y. But, I mean, it happens, man. I love Joe Dumars too. At some point he had to go. And,
You think they should fire Todd McClellan and go get the recently available Patrick Waugh to be the head coach of the Detroit Red Wings?
Oh, my God. Can you imagine? I don't even know what I would do with that. I think I'd stop watching sports.
Yeah, I think you might.
I would insist on this show being a music take show only if that happens. So let's hope it doesn't.
Introductory press conference with the Beatles coming out there. The Preds wrapped up their season last night. That is now 3 out of the last 4 years they've missed out on the playoffs, 2 years in a row. We went through the exercise earlier of basically me throwing out to Predators fans, hey, you're named general manager. What are 3 moves that you're making this offseason within the scope of realism? A lot of different thoughts on that. I would say, Joe, that Jonathan Marchessault moving on from that contract would be a common theme that was there. Some differing thoughts on whether or not Andrew Burnett should be retained as head coach. A lot of talk about UC Saros, who, by the way, was not good at all last night. Not good from UC Saros last night. It's one game, but it was bad from UC Saros last night. So
not the last impression you want to leave.
Not the last impression you want to leave. And it's just, I tell you, it is, in terms of pure direction of the franchise, right? It's probably the most interesting offseason they've ever had in terms of just purely that, because you've got, I think for the first time basically in team history, you're going to have, as Elliot Friedman has reported earlier this week, it looks like they're going external with the GM hire. You're going to have an external candidate come in and take a look at this thing from the inside out for the first time. And to me, that, as somebody who's followed the team since the moment they got here, that is incredibly intriguing to me heading into this offseason.
Yeah. I mean, it's the first time outside the family, so to speak, as you start this franchise with David Poyle and you're going outside the family for the first time. So I'm with you. It's going to be fascinating, extremely intriguing. Saros, by the way, ends the season with the 8.94 save percentage, and I don't have the where he is, but he was ranking in the right around 70s in the league and saves above expected too. It's tough stuff.
Yeah. So, that obviously, we talked a lot about him throughout the season and today, and he will continue to be a talking point heading into the offseason. But, it's concerning. There's no doubt about that. You're talking, and again, it's more complicated than just save percentage. So that is worth remembering in this discussion. But you're talking the last 3 years, 906, 895, 894. That ain't what you want to see in the first year of a 8-year deal. So
no,
a lot of things to figure out on that front. Joe, this time next week, we'll be breaking down the first round of the NFL draft. We will have, obviously, next week, lots of coverage on the NFL draft front. The Predators at some point, I think either late this weekend or early next week, more likely, probably going to have some of their locker room clean out stuff. So hear from some of the veteran guys. So we'll have a lot to get to next week.
Can't wait. We're so close to, oh no, now we don't have the draft to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yay! Mount Rushmore season. Let's go.
Exactly. That's going to do it for us. Hope everybody has an outstanding weekend. We'll be back Monday morning at 6 a.m. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.